The wonderful thing as well that you started from the off was this authenticity to location and things as well, and the fact that you made that decision that you were going to go to these places and film there. You weren't going to mock it up and in studios and things like that. Why did you make that decision, and how easy was it a decision to see through?
Well, there are some sets that were in the studio, but I'm going to hand over to my friend Lee. Actually,
I think it's not all completely truthful, because it's what's on the screen that matters. And so obviously we build things, and sometimes we shoot something in a different place, but essentially we do stick to that principle. And I think, if it says Paris in the script, our first inclination is that we will go to Paris and shoot it, and then we will find a reason, maybe there's a good reason not to, or whatever. And I think that I don't really actually know why we decided that, but I just think it was something that happened. I mean, because I think that you would normally, when you break down a script like that, you would normally say, look, we're all going to go to Prague or Berlin or something, and we're going to make 5 countries from one city. Yeah. That is the normal traditional thing, and we've all done that at some point. And somehow we have fallen into this thing, and we have a very slick production system, I think, which allows us to go for a week here or a week there, and it's just a model that works for us, and we are just very well set up for it. And Damon, you've done quite a few of these weeks away with. I mean, it's something that it just feels right, doesn't it?
It's just really enjoyable, I think, to watch. Hopefully, when you're just in a different place, and you just see that.
And the real place, and not just the touristy bits. Or
Budapest.
Which also makes it easier to shoot, doesn't it? Because you're not in the tourist areas, and that's part of the show. Is you're very real, sometimes quite down.
Because you become obsessed with it otherwise.
Yeah.
And I think there was definitely a feeling of every other, well, I don't say every other show, but, there is a tax break in Belgium, so let's recreate, England in Belgium. We didn't want to do that, because I think that there is I think you feel that coming off the screen. So that was definitely a sense when it was, let's not shoot it all in Croatia came up. And then the thought of it's a gorgeous country, we will go to Croatia. But
As Croatia.
But Italy as well. I remember when thinking we go to Italy, everybody said, well, isn't it a nightmare to shoot in Italy? In fact, it was a dream to shoot in Italy. So it was
really good.
Yeah.
On the production.
And Damon had a great time in Rome.
You say that like I was on holiday.
Where do we fancy going in this then?
But also we had shot, because we do the Durrells, we'd shot that in Greece, and that is a really hard place to go and shoot. And so, in a way, I don't think we had any fear going to Italy, for instance, which I think you normally would.
Yeah. Does it not cause, is it not a nightmare on a production level, though, in terms of, you have all these different locations?
No, not really. I mean, as Lee was saying, the system is we tend to go for a week, and am I allowed to say this little production secret? That you shoot exteriors largely. So very often people walk through doors, and when they're inside, they're back in London, in wonderful places that match for Rome or wherever. So that makes it easier. And you obviously work with a local production facilitator, and so that helps a great deal. But the wonderful thing was the catering. We went season 2. We were in Paris, Amsterdam, Rome, and the catering could not have been more different in every place. And they were literally, just spoke to the nationality. It was extraordinary. Red wine in Paris, for lunch. Snails, absolutely, and napkins. May I say? In Italy, I've never had so much Nespresso in my life. Every few minutes, they're just kind of pouring you Nespresso. So it was great.
We talked about the writing and these characters and stuff, but for these characters to connect with people, these performances needed to be really cemented and portrayed by these wonderful actresses. And the casting process is something I wanted just to touch on, if that's okay. And way back when you started, and but particularly with Eve and Villanelle, and how you found them and how easy it was to cast that.
Yeah. Well, what you whispering?
I stepped with Lee, and then I stepped with Damon. I didn't say that.
Get you to score them.
when it was greenlit, BBC America said, you know, we love it. We want one character to be American. So, and that was immediately, very quickly going to be Eve. And we also knew that that was probably going to be the part where there was a known actor in that role. So it's always sort of chicken and egg, because we also knew that the dynamic between Eve and Villanelle was going to be really, really important. So we started a massive search for Villanelle, and Suzanne and Gilly Crowley-Poole, who did the casting, done the casting for all the seasons, is absolutely brilliant and quite rightfully nominated for an Emmy. They put, I don't know, 120 people on tape for Villanelle, at least that. Wow. And they scoured all of Europe, and they put, I mean, the irony is we end up with a Scouser.
Because it's Russian assassin in the script, so you start...
When we started Russia, again, it was about authentic. We wanted to sort of go down that route. But then you've got to make sure that that person works with the person that you cast as Eve. And so actually they did do a chemistry read. And they got on very well.
Did you have any idea that, I mean, Jodie in this is just...
Phenomenal.
It's extraordinary, it really, really is, because she's playing so many characters.
Yeah.
What was it about her tape that, or her, you know?
I think that what we of course, you've got to fight your own television cliches when you're doing it. So, you know, you keep seeing people that look a little bit like the girl with the dragon tattoo, but the thing about Jodie is that she didn't. And what we really wanted, Villanelle, is we wanted to cast somebody that you could sit next to on the tube and you didn't realise you were sitting next to somebody who was like a vicious psychopathic assassin. And Jodie has this extraordinary sort of chameleon quality to her, and she's just phenomenally beautiful, but she can also change into very different, without, you know, becoming a grotesque. She just has this, I mean, we were looking at some bloopers actually the other day, and Jodie just, you know, in about 10 seconds went through about 20 different characters just before somebody shouted, you know, rolling. And she's a phenomenon.
And she brings something to it that wasn't actually on
we
the
didn't
page
know,
as well.
it wasn't on the page. That's another thing about the writing, that actually Phoebe, as Jodie learnt more about the character, and Phoebe learnt more about the character through Jodie, and they just kept, they fed off each other in the most sort of amazing way, which happened with all of the characters, really.
Yeah.
And then when you bring in Emerald in series 2 for the writing as well, to kind of continue that on, but to bring her strengths to that as well as a writer.
Yeah. And she's, you know, we'd worked with Emerald before, and she's extraordinary. She's got a very, very dark sense of humour, and so she's different, but she also has that sense of the glorious to her. And it becomes easier because actually when we were doing the first season, everybody kept going, well, what is it like? And we were like, well, it's not really like anything. But you had a show to go from, and by then the characters had grown into, you know, I still think they're growing, and I think it's really important that they continue to grow. But the writers by then had a sense of who these characters were, so it became...
And Emerald was very keen to make sure she wasn't, you know, doing a kind of impersonation of Phoebe.
Yeah.
They're very good friends, so there's obviously a shared sense of humour there. But I think that was a very bold choice to 100% deliberately say, I'm not going to, you know, look at those scenes and just try and imitate them.
Yeah.
And she has a very strong sense of humour of her own, and there are definitely similarities, but there's also some real differences. And I think when you sort of analyse, you know, series 1 and series 2, you know, the shape of it, the humour of it, the wisecracking of it, they're really very different. I don't know how you found it, Fiona. Did you feel a real sort of difference in
the writing?
Yeah, when you approached, you know, the very beginning of series 2.
Funny you should say that, because there was in the beginning of season 2, there was a terribly rude joke about schools and nuns, and it was in one draft, and then it was gone. And I said to Emerald, you got rid of that? She said, yes, it's too Phoebe.
That's true, she did.
And she wrote a completely different...
Absolutely.
Yeah, she just thought, no, I'm being Phoebe there, so she stopped that.
Yeah.
No, the writing was very different because, oh God, I don't know how to say it, but Phoebe's writing sort of comes out of her marrow in some way, and Emerald has an ability to bolt on something to the end of something, and it absolutely transforms it. They're just different minds.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. And yeah, there's a kind of a funny cruelty well, perhaps to both, but Emerald, which is just wondrous, isn't it? It's like she loves to find the really nasty little twist, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's lovely in real life.
She's a heavenly human being.